if you guys remember, on last week's memory, I was kind of vague about this road trip we took, right? And that's because that car is what this episode is all about. So, before I give away any details, here's your Monday morning memory from Pugliese Speed Shop. So, like I mentioned last week, me, Jimbo, and the kid, we jumped in the '01 Dodge Ram off-road package and headed down to Texas, where we bought my 1964 GTO. This car, I'll tell you, everybody that saw this, it was beautiful. Look at the pictures right here, You know it's beautiful because I took about 4,000 pictures of this thing. Had them all developed. That's back when we used to develop stuff. And just the paint was beautiful. The interior not so much when I scooped it up, but that's fine. We made up for that, and we'll talk about that. We'll show you that, and we'll tell you why everybody pretty much still believes this was the nicest car I ever owned. As always, guys, we'll start off by telling you how I got the car. So, as usual, I wasn't looking for one. It just happens, I had the 64 Le Mans, and she needed a lot of work. I was on deployment. It was 2006. I was on the Big E, the Mighty Enterprise, and we had a decent internet connection, and I was surfing around looking for parts. I don't even know how, because this was like before Facebook Marketplace, but kind of like when Craigslist was still a thing, but I don't think it was either one of those. I think I was Googling for parts, and this ad comes up for a 64 GTO. Now, my Le Mans was the hardtop convertible, as they call it, the no post. And as usual, I like what nobody else likes. I love a post car. And this GTO was a post car, which is rare for a GTO. So I see it pop up. It was already painted. The interior was in a box. None of it was really in there. It had a 428 with a 4-speed Muncie and a narrowed 9-inch with 411s in it. And I said, this could be fun, right? So I continued to look at it. I forget what the guy wanted, but it was way less than I could put my Le Mans in anywhere near that kind of shape. So there was a little bit of rust on the floors. The body, like I said, was really nice. And glass was all good. It needed put together. Like the interior wasn't together. It was a runner driver, but not like a daily driver. They did a disc brake conversion ish. That wasn't great either. Everything was like a 6, except for the paint, and the body was really nice. So I was like, huh. And it was a GTO. So when it comes to the 64 GTO, it wasn't actually a model yet. It was like a option for the Le Mans Tempest and all that. So you kind of got to dive into the PHS, the Pontiac Historical Society, to make sure it's a legit GTO. I'm not somebody that cares about that kind of stuff, but if I'm going to pay the price, especially, you want to make sure you get what you pay for. I definitely did. So it was a real GTO. You had all the PHS, all that kind of stuff. So I started talking to the guy. I'm emailing him because I'm on deployment. And he's like, yeah. I'm sure you heard it a million times. So he's in Texas. I told him I'm on deployment coming from North Carolina. He's like, whatever. I'll never see this guy. We did kind of keep in touch. And then I got off deployment and I was like, Megan, I want to get this car. And she's like, yeah. Sounds like a good idea, because I was going to sell the Le Mans, which I did. So, I don't know, right before I was going to get it, the guy said, I was like maybe 2 weeks out, and he sends me an email. Hey man, some guy from California wants to buy it. Are you going to be there? And I'm like, oh man. Yeah, but I didn't want to send him a deposit because like I never saw the car in person. So I was iffy. As luck would have it, a week and some change out, the guy from California backs out. I don't know if he didn't have the money or I don't know what the deal was, but all I know is he backed out and I was like, I'm in there. So I was like, yo, we gotta go. Let's go. Jimbo's down for a ride. Andrew's all about it. We jump in the truck, we take off. Now, as I said last video, Jimbo was supposed to share the driving, but I made a mistake. I said he thought it was a Pepsi machine on the road. It was a Coke machine, he thought. Now, when it comes to driving, I don't think that really makes a difference, but he wanted me to make sure that I clarify that. So he thought he saw a Coke machine. There was nothing on the road, so I continued to drive. We stopped in, I think it was just out, I think it was in Texas, like an hour or so outside the guy's house. We get there, and this guy, he has, it's like a gate, the gates I had to like call, and like the gates opened up when he knew who it was, and we drove through. This guy had the setup, man. It was a beautiful house. We started talking to him. He's from Bayshore, New York, Long Island. I was like, the guy is from 20 minutes from where I grew up, and here we are in Texas together. I'm buying this car. It's crazy how small the world is, right? So he was into the sprint cars. If you know anything about the Le Mans Tempest, the Sprint 200s, they're like a inline six with like a turbo or something on them. He showed us, he had a couple of them in his amazing garage he had, so it was cool. But he's like, I want to say he's asking like $12,500 for the car, which was way worth it. He picked it up because it was a deal when he got it, did some work, and he's trying to pay it forward. So I think the guy was kind of putting together a drag car, the guy before him, because he didn't do this work. Because it looked really good from 20 feet away, right? From the stands. And it didn't look bad when we got up close. The bodywork was still good, but you could tell he didn't care about some little things, like the interior and all that kind of stuff. There was 3 or 4 bubbles on the back, on the trunk lid, like where it kind of came down. The guy's like, hey man, I didn't see these. I'm gonna take some money off the price. How about $11,000? I was like, yep, sounds great, buddy. Not a problem. So we scooped the car up. We fired up. Jimbo looks at me. First thing I started up and I hit just a little bit of gas. Long tube headers. Would have had like Dynamax exhaust. There was like 3-inch dual. It sounded incredible. And he's like, oh yeah, somebody's losing their license. So I drive it on the trailer and we take off. Every place we stopped for gas, you should have seen. I mean, we drove past, we're getting thumbs up like crazy. The car just, there was like that, it was a Mitsubishi color, something burnt orange. I forget exactly what it is, but I've seen a lot of GTOs. That color made it. So the guy that figured that out absolutely killed it. Oh man, I love that. The look was amazing. So we get so every time we stop and get, everybody's, oh my God, what year is that? Just carrying on. And every time I went inside, Jimbo tried to sell it. And from what I understand, he could have sold it at every single gas station because, first off, I don't think he was asking the right money. But it was an eye catcher. It was super, just everybody loved the car. So that's how I got caught, as I mentioned last video, where I told him I was just going on special liberty. It wasn't going to be more than, I was going to Tennessee, I said, because it was 250 miles. It was a radius you had without taking leave. Back then, now you can do whatever you want. But, so I show my chief the car, and he's like, you got Texas tags on. I was like, oh, shit. But, of course, I told him I met him in Tennessee, and he let me believe that he believed it. So that was fine. We started messing with the car a little bit, just tweaking it in, getting the timing set in right, need some front brake work, like I said. The the shifter wasn't exactly synced up, like all the little things, right? Before I start putting stuff together inside this car, because I want to just, I'm more worried about run and drive. So the rear motor, the rear body mounts were not good. So when I would like take a turn, it would just shift the body a little bit in the back end there, and the tires would rub because they were that close. It had a fuel cell in it, and a couple of things that, yeah, it's probably great for the track, but you know, not so much for daily driving. Had some BF Goodrich drag radials on it that they were pretty sticky, I'll tell you. But I shot up to work a time or two with it. Many times I had problems with it breaking down. First one was simple. The coil was sitting right where it's getting hot, so I had to move that and little stuff like that. You know, it just wasn't meant to drive. So we did all that for a while, and we ended up moving cross country, right? So you guys have seen plenty of pictures where I put it up on the trailer. We had a 2-car hauler, shot cross country, got to China Lake, California, and that was the perfect place for this car. Desert town, small town, and I beat back and forth to work in it. I was all over the town with it. I never left the town because you got about 100 miles of desert till the next town, and I figured that was a bad idea. But we kind of worked the bugs out of it, and like I say, it became very well known. I would leave for work in the morning. I remember one day I got on it just a touch, and it might have been because the guy, sometimes some people piss you off, right? So this guy was one of those guys, and I went past his house a little bit loud. Well, he came in yelling and screaming. I woke up his kid, and it took everything I had not to smile, but it didn't. It's kind of like my plan, you know. But yeah, you know, I took it around for a while, and I didn't ever finish the interior. So my buddy Louie was a way better welder than me. So we're at his house. We were working on one of his little roadsters, and he's like, "Hey, let's put this interior together." So he ends up putting he put some patch panels in the floors. It wasn't bad enough that we needed complete floors. It was just some little patch panels. So he burned those in. We're there working on it, and his wife is Japanese, and her cousin was there from Japan, right? And he's talking about wanting to know whose car this is, because that was when muscle cars were like on the rise. And guys, they get ridiculous money for American cars in out there in Japan. So he's like an import-export guy, and he's kind of talking to me about it, and kind of planting the seed in my, to maybe we should sell this car. And to be 100% honest, I wasn't feeling the muscle car people, right? And if you're a muscle car guy, well, that's unfortunate. I'm not going to change the way I feel. We everything I did on the car, I put a radiator in it, I did all little stuff, and everybody's like, "Oh," I'm always talking to people, and they're like, "Well, who did this? Who did that? Who did this? Who did that?" And it was just, they just judged you, like you had to have this guy do your motor, you had to have this guy do this, you had that guy, and I was like, you know what, man, I don't care about that, you know. And it just, that kind of seemed, and maybe it was just the area, you know, but it just, that was the scene for muscle cars, was somebody had to do all your stuff, and then you had to write a check, and then if you didn't do that, you were like a crumb bum, you know. And I didn't like that, and I felt that I fit more in with like the hot rod, rat rod, patina, truck guys, because like that's the kind of crew I'm in now, and nobody cares, right? They actually would rather you do your own work. It's just, and maybe I'm way off on this, but that's the vibe I got from the place I was at that point in time. So I was like, you know what? I'm not against selling this thing. If I can get ridiculous money for it, why not? So we put the floors in. I went home. I did the carpet. The seats were in there, but of course I pulled the seats out to put the new carpet in, and kind of dyed everything. Redid the dash. I liked the 65 dash better because I had a wood grain steering wheel. It matched that. The windows weren't on the track, so so I fixed all that stuff. I got the thing pretty close to perfect, with the exception of it still had a fuel cell in it, and it still had like the electronic. It was like a Holley blue pump, I think. It had a regulator on it, and it was all hyped up, right? Had all that because it was, guys, a 428 bone stock Pontiac 428, 390 horsepower, right? And that's old school. That's a lot of power, guys. We're not. I know everything now is about 400 horsepower. Back then, no. So, and those cars, that GTO was 2,700 pounds. So imagine. And this car had head work done to it. I don't know everything that was done to it, but the cam in it was crazy. The whole top end was done. It had a 750 double pumper on it. Long tube headers, all like I said, all that, and it was healthy. All right. And if I dumped a clutch in this thing, I broke stuff almost every time. Right, a rear shock mount, because it would just hook up. It would hook up and go, and like I swear, like I'm looking up at the sky. It was like, when I doing wheelies, no, but that thing would just transfer and just go, and something broke. I didn't do it very often because there were some things that weren't, like I said, I don't think I never fixed I might have fixed the body mounts. I think I did because I don't remember them rubbing when I sold it. But we, as luck would have it, and this happens every time you go to sell a car. When you have a car and you don't want to sell it, the whole world wants to buy this thing, right? The second you're ready to sell it, ain't nobody got money, or the wives don't want them to have it, or they just bought a project, or what. Every excuse in the book. It never, ever fails. So, when I went to sell the car, talked to his cousin, he wasn't looking for anything right then. And it was only a couple months later, but guys, in the car business, a couple months is a lifetime. So, now I got a car that's pretty well done, and I just started driving the hell out of the thing again. And it was awesome, right? I actually put it in, it's the only car I ever really put into an official car show. But we had a big show there every year, an annual thing in China Lake. And we placed like top 10. And I don't remember how many cars were there, but there was a boatload. And it was kind of funny because I drove the car every day. And I went and, the guy that was running the car show was a civilian guy that worked on at my squadron. So he convinced me to bring it. I do. And everybody, I washed it, threw a coat of wax on it, a little armor on the tires, and brought it down there. The guy next to me, he's got the little baby doll he's setting up, and he's got the model this, and he's got a whole attraction around his car. And I pulled up next to him, back to the spot, and I was like, well, I guess I'll pick my iced tea thing off of the seat and brush that off, and I got out. And I ended up winning something he didn't. He was not very happy with me, but oh well. So it was also funny when the guy was announcing the winners, and actually Megan and Andrew came and met me, and we walked around the car show, and we got something to eat. And we came back, and I was like, "What I got on my windshield?" And it was telling me to be at the thing, So we were there, and I couldn't believe I actually won something. I might have made a few comments to Megan that I was now a decorated car builder, even though I didn't really build it. I just kind of finished it. But where's that? It's around here somewhere. We'll show you a picture of it. Maybe put it up right here. But yeah, we ended up, it was like a top 10 or something like that, which was cool. Anyway, I was calling the thing out. He's like, this is the only car here I saw in the whole show that I actually see on the road. And I was like, well, that probably pissed people off too. But shortly after that, it kind of, I got tired of it. I had about 4 or 5 years. And I moved across country, and I threw it on the old Craigslist, and a guy from Vegas came down and bought it. And he didn't pay me what the guy in Japan was talking about, but we made out pretty well, so I wasn't mad about that. And I said, now we're going to buy a hot rod, right? That was the plan. So it probably was the nicest car I've ever owned, guys, because I'd never had anything else with that kind of paint on it. And just the 64 GTO. It's the only year with the horizontal headlights, and it can't be mistaken. It started the muscle car revolution, or whatever you want to call it. So I know it's kind of weird for guys to say they don't like muscle cars to brag about that, but it's a weird flex. Let me have it, right? It was also the one car I remember specifically. My parents and them, they come up and visit up in China Lake. We had to pick them up at the front gate, and my dad jumped in the GTO with me, and I already had it for sale at this time. And he had seen it down there in Carolina. We've seen pictures of it. I'll show you one here where he loved that thing. He was always wanting to, kind of, anytime I saw it, I want to go for riding it. So, of course, I took the GTO to pick him up. And he's looking around inside the thing like this, like a kid in a candy store, right? You really going to sell this thing? I said, yeah. What do you want for it? I think I got to buy it. He didn't buy it, obviously, but it's kind of funny, I guess, because the reason I bought the Le Mans was because he had the 64 Le Mans, so then I ended up with the GTO, as a byproduct. So it's a kind of, it's fitting that he would want it, right? But I don't know that I'll ever have anything that nice again, because shiny paint scares me and prices are out of control. But that's the story of my 1964 GTO, and yeah, I definitely do miss it. You can't keep them all, but every now and then I'm like, man, I wish I still had that car. But what are you gonna do? Maybe we'll find another one at a ridiculous price, and I'll meet a guy from Long Island in Texas. None of that's gonna ever happen again. But that's what these stories are all about. So tune in next week, and we'll tell you the next piece of crap I bought. Thanks for watching, guys.